This land at the crossroads of East and West is very big, larger than France, larger even than Texas, more than 3 times the size of Great Britain. A land harsh and beautiful, lonely and various. Its frontiers are Greek, Bulgarian, with Iran, Iraq, Syria, and the Soviet Union, a very important part of the world. In Turkey, custom and tradition have always been important. Even so, there have been great changes here, and those changes have been achieved very rapidly. This is about a meeting between the far eastern and far western extremities of Europe. The Turks and the British have been enemies and are friends. In trade and culture, there is much that binds them. Their interests are mutual. A state visit by Her Majesty the Queen helps to cement these bonds. Monday, the start of a crowded 7-day visit and the first time a reigning British monarch has come to Turkey. Prince Philip and Princess Anne had just been to Iran. They flew in early to Ankara so that Queen Elizabeth and her family could be together for their first meeting on Turkish soil with the President. President Sunay is the 5th President of the Republic. He entered politics late in life and has been President since 1966, a family man with 2 sons, a daughter and 3 grandchildren. Turkey and Britain have roles in 2 important alliances. Like Britain, Turkey is a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, and a member of the Central Treaty Organization, CENTO. Though it is old itself, the capital city of Ankara is modern testimony to the spirit of Kemal Atatürk, the founder of modern Turkey. The Queen and Prince Philip come to pay respect to a man described by Sir Winston Churchill as one of the 4 or 5 outstanding figures of the First World War, to the man who once fought against Britain. Kemal Atatürk founded the Republic of Turkey 3 years before Queen Elizabeth was born. He believed in peace at home, peace in the world, and he was a dynamic reformer, a realist, a visionary, with the ability to make his dream of a new Turkey come true. In the Book of Honor, the Queen writes, "I pay tribute to the father of the Turkish nation, gallant in war and peace, a loyal friend." Turkey is a land of amazing contrasts. South and east of modern Ankara, on the wild plateau of Anatolia, is a strange place. This is Göreme, We might almost be on the moon. Volcanic action has whipped the soft, tough stone into incredible shapes, fairy cones, the tallest 100 feet high. After the spread of Christianity, the rocks here were hollowed out to become monasteries, churches and houses. This was a place of hermits, of hundreds of altars, of frescoes blazing with color which can still be seen. A place to visit today, a place to learn that Anatolia cradled one of the world's most ancient civilizations. Turkey knows the extremes of nature well. There have been earthquakes. As president of the Save the Children Fund, Princess Anne visits an orphanage where some of the children are victims of earthquake and loss. But today all that's forgotten. Everywhere the royal family went, they were greeted not only as friends, but as special friends. Tuesday night, and the President and Madame Sunay are at the British Embassy in Ankara to be entertained by the royal family. Behind the glitter and the gold, a time perhaps to remember the solid weight of alliances. State occasions are something more than food and drink. The taste of such receptions lingers as much on the mind as on the tongue. Turkey may be a land of great contrasts. It is also one full of sudden and startling beauty. This is Pamukkale, south of Ankara. In a circus of white cliffs, nature has contrived a work of art with water. Hot, cold, rushing, petrified. Here is fresh water and tiny streams of hot, lime-rich water dripping down terraces of stalactites. It is chalky, sometimes like damp table salt, sometimes like heaps of rock salt. We are in the latitude of legend and of turbulent history, of King Midas, of Alexander the Great. We join the royal family again near the Aegean Sea. This is Ephesus. It was the first and greatest metropolis of Asia, a Roman capital, a city of 250,000 people, a thriving port, a shrine. The enormous temple of Diana was one of the 7 wonders of the world. 4 times larger than the Parthenon of Athens, it was, and still is, a magnet to travelers. Some 600 years before the word of the Prophet of Islam spread to Turkey, it was natural that Paul of Tarsus should come here to bring the word of the man of Galilee. The theatre of Ephesus was large enough to hold 24,000 people. Paul worked for 2 years in this city of virtue and pleasure, but the most dynamic of the early Christians was rejected. People who came here took away little silver shrines in honor of Diana. We're told in the Acts of the Apostles that this is the place where a man called Demetrius, a silversmith, called a meeting against Paul and his teaching. If you use your eyes and ears, he said, you also know that not only in Ephesus, but practically throughout Asia, this man, Paul, has succeeded in changing the minds of a great number of people by telling them that gods made by human hands are not gods at all. Now the danger is not only that this trade of ours might fall into disrepute, but also that the great goddess Diana herself might come to be lightly regarded. The crowd roared, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians," and Paul had to go. But time has taken care of silversmiths who make graven images, and of Diana, and of Roman Ephesus. All that remains tells us of the decline and fall of an empire, the eventual rise of Islam. Ephesus has been left behind in the rise of modern Turkey. In British history, in British war history, nothing has been so important as the narrow strip of water separating us from France. In Turkish history, it is the Dardanelles, in particular, the tragic ground of Gallipoli. During World War I, Britain and Turkey were enemies. Terrible battles were fought here. Many lives were lost. If anything can be testimony to the idiocy of war, it must be these rusting, shabby props of battles, hardly worth considering, even as museum pieces. It was on these beaches that thousands of men landed or tried to land, to get no further than this. The Queen and Prince Philip paid tribute at the Turkish memorial. Later, still at Gallipoli, the royal family laid a wreath at the British memorial. Now the tour is halfway over. The Royal Yacht Britannia is at hand to take the Queen, Prince Philip and Princess Anne through the Sea of Marmara, around the shores of the Bosphorus and Istanbul. Istanbul lives her life on waters, a great port. Istanbul is 2 million people and 2,000 years of history. Byzantine, Ottoman, once Constantinople, and before that New Rome. Every city is a combination of good and bad. Istanbul is magnificent, something of everything, bizarre, confusing. A city at the crossroads between East and West could hardly be anything else. We're looking north from the Bosphorus at the Dolmabahce Palace, built in a style worthy of the Arabian Nights. It is a palace fit for a queen, 8 grand halls, 200 rooms. The palace stretches for 700 yards along the waterfront beneath the hills of Machka. It is fitting that the Queen should come here because it is at Dolmabahce that Kemal Atatürk had his few simple rooms, and where in fact he died. Istanbul, home of great mosques, of the magnificent Suleymaniye and of the graceful Blue Mosque. Here, as in Ankara and all over Turkey, the Queen was greeted not only with traditional hospitality, but with the crowd's affection. And Istanbul reserves yet another touch of fairyland for the Queen. Yet it is real enough, for near to Santa Sofia is the palace of Topkapi, residence of the Ottoman sultans for almost 350 years. Here she was met by the traditional guards of the sultans, the Janissaries. In a very tangible sense, the music and dance of Turkey are expressions of national pride, of martial history, of simple folk traditions retained and respected for centuries. Topkapi is not so much a palace as a complex of palaces. At one time, as many as 5,000 people were housed here. Everything in Topkapi is on a giant scale, as befits the home of mighty sultans. Topkapi today only echoes with the laughter and tears of women, the tramping feet of the Janissaries, the receptions of ambassadors, great ceremonies, all of the past. is to be remembered that this was a seat of power, where important decisions were made, where the noise of water helped to keep private conversations private. Sunday night, the last night in Istanbul. This night, the Queen entertained the Turkish Prime Minister, Professor Erim, and his wife aboard Britannia. A tour full of charm and kindness, and a crowded one, in which the royal family was presented with a perspective of Turkey, ancient and very modern. A very friendly tour, and one to remember.